Airplane looks like pure nonsense, but this movie changed comedy forever.
And it flows through me.
In 1980, it took a dead-serious disaster formula and turned it into one of the wildest hits of its time.
All right, now I want you to disengage the automatic pilot.
But the real chaos was off-camera. Serious actors thought the humor might fail, and several of its boldest choices came dangerously close to real trouble. The deeper you look, the crazier it gets. And number 1 may be the twist that changes the whole movie for you. Number 15. The voices were realer than the joke. The airport announcer scene is funny for a reason most people never notice. It sounds so real because it actually was.
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
The filmmakers first tried regular voice actors for the red zone and white zone exchange, but something felt off. The voices did not sound like the dull airport recordings people were used to hearing.
Well, the whole flight crew is boarded.
So they made a smarter move. They brought in the real married couple connected to the actual Los Angeles airport announcement recordings. That gave the scene the right tone immediately. Their voices stayed calm and official even while the conversation became more personal, strange, and ridiculous. That contrast is what makes the joke land. It sounds like something you would ignore at first in an airport and then suddenly realize has gone completely off the rails. The fact that the performers were a real married couple made it even better. It gave the scene a weird kind of truth. Airplane kept doing that. It found comedy by dropping nonsense into something that felt completely real. It is a small detail, but it helps explain why the movie works so well. And that hidden detail was only the beginning. Number 14. The joke in the engine sound. One hidden joke in Airplane is easy to miss, even if you have seen the movie more than once. The plane on screen is a jet, but the sound you hear is from a propeller plane.
Clearance over. Over. Roger. Huh?
Most people never catch it because their brains just accept it as normal airplane noise. But the mismatch is there all through the film. This happened because the filmmakers originally wanted an older-style propeller plane, but the studio would not allow that. They also wanted to shoot in black and white, and the studio shut that down too. So the filmmakers found a quiet way to push back. They kept the old propeller sound effect anyway. That turned the sound into a small inside joke for anyone paying close attention. It also helps explain why the movie still holds up so well. Airplane is packed with jokes people miss the first time. Some are in the dialogue, some are in the background, and some are hidden in tiny choices like this one. Once people notice it, they love it, because it feels like one more clever detail hiding in plain sight. But if they were sneaking jokes into the sound, what was happening when the cameras stopped rolling? That is where things got even stranger. Number 13. The set was full of fart noises. It is hard to top this image. Leslie Nielsen keeping a straight face while setting off a fart machine between takes. Before Airplane, he was known as a serious dramatic actor, which makes the whole thing even better. During production, he became obsessed with a handheld fart machine. He used it during conversations, in quiet moments, and between takes, all while keeping a straight face. That was what made it funny. He acted like nothing had happened. At first, some people thought something was actually wrong. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar even thought Nielsen had a stomach problem before learning it was a prank. Nielsen loved the gag so much that he started selling fart machines to other people on set. Soon, the production was full of fart noises, and it became such a distraction that the assistant director had to step in and take them away. Even that did not really stop it. Nielsen kept the gag going in interviews, public appearances, and talk shows until it became part of his image. The man who helped make the movie famous for dead-serious absurdity was also creating childish chaos behind the camera. It sounds stupid, but it fits this production almost perfectly. And somehow, the finished film still had bigger problems to fix. Number 12. The movie almost was not this funny. Believe it or not, Airplane was not funny enough in its early form. The first cut was longer, and not every scene landed the way the filmmakers wanted. Some extra ideas slowed the movie down instead of making it better. That was a real problem because this kind of comedy lives and dies on pace. If one joke hangs too long, the audience gets ahead of it. If one scene drags, the energy drops. The filmmakers understood that quickly. They watched audiences carefully and paid close attention to what got a real reaction and what did not. If a joke landed, it stayed. If it did not hit hard enough, it was cut. That meant trimming the movie down into the faster, sharper version people know now. Even sound helped. Certain effects made the jokes feel lighter and faster. That is a big part of why the finished movie feels so quick and so packed with laughs. People sometimes think comedy is loose when it works well, but Airplane was not loose at all. It had to be shaped carefully until almost every moment earned its place. That is also why people still catch new jokes every time they watch it. The movie moves at such a quick pace because the weaker pieces were stripped out, but editing was only one part of the pressure. Number 11. Kareem's funniest scene had a strange price tag. What do a basketball legend, a pilot uniform, and an expensive rug have to do with Airplane? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's role became one of the funniest surprises in the movie, but the story behind it was just as strange. The part was first meant for Pete Rose, but baseball season got in the way, so it went to Kareem instead. Then the money turned into part of the legend. He was first offered $30,000, but that was pushed up to $35,000 because he wanted to buy an expensive Oriental rug. The filmmakers agreed, and that odd detail stuck. But once filming started, the role was not easy. Kareem was working in a tight set, under hot lights, in a full pilot uniform, and it took a real toll on him. He reportedly collapsed twice during production because of the heat and strain. Even so, he finished the job and ended up giving the movie one of its most memorable scenes. The exchange with the young passenger lands even harder because the boy's comments echoed real criticism Kareem had heard about his game. It gives the moment a little more bite and makes the cameo even more memorable, and the set itself kept getting stranger. Number 10. The movie kept getting saved by accidents. A lot of people assume Airplane was made in total chaos, but the truth is stranger. Much of it was tightly planned. Even so, several memorable moments changed because of accidents, quick decisions, or small problems that turned into better jokes. The movie had been written years before filming and took a long time to get moving. Once production began, little surprises started turning into useful comedy. The stock runway footage used for the ending unexpectedly included the lights going out, so the team turned that into Johnny unplugging them. A fake beard that was supposed to blow off during cabin chaos stayed stuck, so the actor started making faces to loosen it, and that stayed in because it was funnier. The famous white phone moment got even better because Peter Graves picked up the wrong phone, and the crew rolled with it. You can even hear laughter behind the camera. Other scenes changed because actors had better ideas than what was on the page. The slapping bit with the hysterical passenger grew bigger after Lee Bryant suggested that even more unexpected people should join in. That mix of control and accident helped give the movie its strange energy. But the real shock may be what they achieved with so little money. Number 9. This tiny budget should not have worked. How did a movie this wild pull off so much with so little money? Airplane was made for a surprisingly small budget, around $3.5 million. That was less than many people at the studio had expected, which meant the team had to move fast, think smart, and waste nothing. The film was shot in just over a month, which is not much time for a movie packed with this many jokes, performances, and visual gags. Even with those limits, they still pulled off big moments, including the plane crash into the terminal. That setup was so large and expensive that they really only had one proper chance to get it right. Multiple cameras were used because there was no easy reset. The gamble paid off, and the movie ended up looking bigger than its budget suggests. Then came the real shock. It exploded at the box office, made its money back quickly, and became one of the biggest hits of 1980. Suddenly, it was not just an odd little parody anymore. It was a major comedy hit. But the story of how this movie found its rhythm may be even more surprising. Number 8. This famous scene almost fell flat. One of Airplane's most famous scenes almost did not work at all. The jive scene had the basic idea, but the dialogue the writers came up with did not sound right. It felt forced. When Al White and Norman Alexander Gibbs came in, they quickly showed that the scene needed real help. Instead of forcing the original version, the filmmakers let the actors reshape it. White and Gibbs rewrote most of the jive talk themselves, so it would sound more natural inside the joke. They understood that it was not some totally separate language. It was slang mixed into normal speech, and that made the scene work much better. Then came the bigger twist. Barbara Billingsley, known to many people as the most proper TV mother imaginable from Leave It to Beaver, was brought in to translate it. She was not even the first choice, But once she agreed, White and Gibbs coached her on the rhythm and delivery. That contrast made the scene unforgettable. A woman with the cleanest image possible suddenly speaking fluent jive was exactly the kind of surprise the movie loved. What started as a weak idea turned into one of the movie's biggest laughs, and not every actor felt that kind of confidence at first. Number 7. He read the script and wanted out. What do you do when a script feels less like a comedy and more like career suicide? That is more or less how Peter Graves reacted when he first read Airplane. He hated it. He thought it was tasteless, embarrassing, and the kind of thing that could hurt him badly. For a serious actor with a strong image, lines about Turkish prisons and gladiator movies did not feel clever at first. They felt dangerous. He rejected the role, but the filmmakers still wanted him because that exact discomfort was part of why he was right for it. The joke only worked if a believable authority figure said those strange lines with complete seriousness. Graves eventually came around, helped by pressure from people close to him, but he still had real doubts while making the film. He was not sure audiences would laugh. Then the movie came out, and everything flipped. What he thought might damage him became one of the most remembered performances in the film. So if Peter Graves almost walked away, who else nearly changed the whole movie? Because that casting story is even stranger. Number 6. What if the studio got the cast it wanted? What if Airplane had cast the exact kind of stars the studio wanted? It probably would have been a very different movie. When the script reached Paramount, the studio wanted a more obvious comedy star for Ted Stryker. Names like Chevy Chase and Bill Murray were closer to what they had in mind. The filmmakers wanted the exact opposite. They believed the whole joke would collapse if the lead felt funny before he even opened his mouth. They wanted someone who could act serious while everything around him turned insane. A surprising group of names came up. Bruce Jenner was one. David Letterman auditioned. Barry Manilow was pushed at one point too. None of that felt right to the team. Then Robert Hayes came in and gave them exactly what they wanted. He had that awkward, earnest quality that made Ted Stryker feel like a real man trapped inside a world losing its mind. He was also a licensed pilot, which became one more strange little detail in the casting story. Elaine had near misses too. Sigourney Weaver and Shelley Long were both connected to the role, but Julia Haggerty got it and made it feel easy. This was a real gamble, and it shaped the movie's whole identity. Airplane did not need actors trying to be funny. It needed actors treating nonsense like life and death, and the deeper rule behind that choice mattered even more. Number 5. Nobody was allowed to act like it was a joke. Airplane had one rule that saved the whole movie. Nobody was allowed to act like they were in a comedy. The filmmakers did not want winks, mugging, or little signals to the audience. Everyone had to play it like a real disaster movie. That was what made the whole thing work. Studio people were not fully sold on the idea at first, but it became one of the biggest reasons the film still holds up. The actors had to say absurd lines as if their lives truly depended on them. Robert Stack, Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, and Leslie Nielsen all came from serious roles, which made them perfect for that style. Some did not fully get the tone at first, but once it clicked, the movie found its voice. Even the music followed the same rule. Elmer Bernstein was told not to make the score funny. He treated the film like a straight drama, and that made the visual jokes land even harder. The movie looked ridiculous, but nobody inside it acted like they knew that. Without that rule, a lot of these jokes would have fallen flat, and even with that clear plan, the studio still almost lost faith. Number 4. The studio almost pulled the plug. Very early on, this movie was close to being taken away from the people trying to make it. Paramount was nervous because the directors were stepping into a level of control they had never had before. They had written the Kentucky Fried Movie, but they had not directed a feature like this, so the studio built protection into the deal. If the footage was not working after the first 2 weeks, the directors could be replaced. Veteran producer Howard W. Koch was also there to watch everything closely. That made the first days feel like a test. The directors had to prove themselves fast, and they did it by shooting one of the film's most famous jokes right away, the "Surely You Can't Be Serious" scene. Once the studio saw that footage, some of the fear started to ease, but the pressure did not disappear. The filmmakers wanted black and white. The studio wanted color. The filmmakers wanted a propeller plane. The studio refused. So even though Airplane became a classic, it reached the screen only after proving itself almost immediately. And even that pressure was not the biggest problem waiting for them. Number 3. The lawyers almost got involved. For a movie this silly, Airplane had some very serious legal pressure around it. The film was parodying the airport disaster movies so closely that it created real tension. Universal did not like watching something so close to its franchise take shape, especially when a parody like this could make those serious films look old and silly even faster. There were complaints, arguments, and constant concern over what the filmmakers could safely include. One big issue involved the singing nun and the young sick girl, which were very close to material from Airport 1975. Helen Reddy had even been considered for the spoof version, but that idea fell apart under legal pressure, and Maureen McGovern got the role instead. The title caused problems too. In some places outside North America, the film could not even use the title Airplane, and had to be released under names like Flying High. The team even had legal oversight during production because the script kept pushing close to trouble. So while the finished movie feels carefree, the people making it were moving very carefully, and somehow one actor still ended up getting far more out of this movie than just a single funny role. Number 2. This role changed Leslie Nielsen forever. Today it is almost impossible to imagine anyone else as Dr. Rumack, but that role could have gone in a very different direction. Several actors passed on it before Leslie Nielsen got there. Names like Vincent Price and Christopher Lee were tied to the part, and later both were said to regret missing it. But the real surprise was not who missed the role. It was what the role did for Nielsen once he got it. Before Airplane, he had spent years as a serious actor. He was known for being stiff, dramatic, and dependable. That was exactly why the filmmakers wanted him. At first, though, Nielsen leaned the wrong way and tried to play the role funny. They stopped him and gave him the rule that helped shape the whole movie: act like you do not know you are in a comedy. Once he locked into that style, everything changed. His dead serious delivery turned simple lines into iconic ones. Suddenly, he was not just a dramatic actor doing one unusual role. He was becoming the face of a whole new kind of comedy. That shift lasted for decades. Airplane did not just give him a great part, it changed how audiences saw him for the rest of his life. One performance did not just help the movie, it rewrote his career, and somehow, even that still was not the wildest fact. Number 1. The movie they accidentally found. The wildest twist behind Airplane is that it was built on a movie that was never meant to be funny at all. Jim Abrahams and the Zucker brothers were recording late-night television so they could find things to parody. One night, the tape picked up an old 1957 disaster film called 0 Hour. It was meant to be serious, but it felt unintentionally funny in a totally different way. That was the moment everything changed. They saw that this older film already had the perfect bones for something bigger. It had food poisoning on a plane, a troubled war veteran, and a tense emergency landing story. Even the character Ted Stryker was already there, just spelled a little differently. The filmmakers started building jokes right inside that same structure. They did not just borrow the basic idea. They used the serious foundation and turned it upside down. The more they worked with it, the more it stopped feeling like a loose parody and started feeling like a remake. That could have created a huge problem. So they bought the remake rights for just $2,500. That tiny purchase protected one of the smartest comedy ideas they had. And once you know that, the whole movie looks different. Airplane was never just random chaos. Underneath all the jokes, it had the frame of a real disaster film holding everything together. Part of what makes the comedy so sharp is that the structure underneath it was completely real. That may be the strangest twist of all. One of the funniest movies ever made was built on a dead serious film almost nobody expected to matter again. It is one of those movies that feels even better once you know what was happening behind it. It was silly on purpose, but never careless. And honestly, that may be why people still quote it, laugh at it, and come back to it all these years later. It really was an entirely different kind of flying altogether. Which fact shocked you more? The 0 Hour twist, the casting risks, or the fact that so many wild choices somehow turned into comedy history? Jump into the comments and let us know, because this one is too good not to argue about. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more unforgettable stories. See you next time.